let's bring in Chad Simmons. We've seen a bunch of commitments. Ekene Agboko, Kamari Brooks, Jay Lamar just moments ago made his decision committing to Georgia right here on the On3 Recruit channel. And there could be more. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, we know Georgia isn't happy with just one elite back. They want two, and they're eyeing up Derek Cooper out of Miami, Florida. But Derek Cooper is not going to be an easy pull out of the Sunshine State. Where do you think Georgia stands with them right now?
No, not at all. Definitely not an easy pull from South Florida down there, obviously in Miami's backyard. To the OV to Miami this past weekend. They got the last shot at the elite running back, Derek Cooper, and we think Miami's going to be tough to beat, but Georgia's one that could potentially beat the Hurricanes in this race. They're very much in competition here and a strong contender with Coach Crawford and Coach Coley, Bobo, Smart, a lot of guys involved in that recruitment. He's been to Athens 4, 5, 6 times. Mom's been there. She likes the coaching staff. She's a big part of this recruitment. Obviously, it's Derek's decision in the end, but she's right there in the group that will help him get there to the finish line. Like you said, Jay Lamar, huge win for Georgia. They want to add another piece in that running back room. I believe Derek Cooper is their best shot. Of course, Savion Hyder's involved, other running backs, Amari Latimer, but Cooper is a guy coming off the board in July. They're very much in play, making that pitch to be that two-headed monster like a Sony Michel, Nick Chubb, Todd Gurley, Keith Marshall. And like you said, Georgia's had a lot of success on your show, Josh. So if I'm Kirby Smart, I want to get Derek Cooper to announce on the On3 YouTube channel to make his decision.
Yeah, and he, like I said, he might not be the last Georgia Bulldog to commit. Hopefully we get Derek Cooper. But on Thursday, we have wide receiver Craig Dandridge out of the state of Georgia, and it seems like if anybody's going to pull him out, it could be Oklahoma here.
Yeah, they got the last OV. Obviously, they're known for offense, and they have a need at wide receiver. They obviously have big commitment in Bo Bentley there as well. That'll appeal to a lot of offensive weapons for Brent Venables and company, but he will be hard to pull out of the state of Georgia. I've always kind of viewed this as Georgia versus Georgia Tech the last couple of months, and he took OVs to both Athens and the Flats in Atlanta. Look, Georgia has become the team to beat. Throughout the spring, James Coley made him a top priority. He ran a 10.8 in track. Last season, coming off some injuries, he had 1,400 yards receiving, 15 touchdowns, shows speed, plays fast, plays big, and became a guy that Georgia wants and hopes to add in this class. And right now, just a day or two out from that commitment, I like where Georgia sits here for the in-state target.
Wow, gonna have a lot of dog fans in the chat again. All right, big announcement today. PJ Dean is going to make his decision on June 30th. Elite defensive lineman. At one point, a lot of people thought he was trending towards the Buckeyes, but as we get closer and closer, does it feel like Georgia's going to win out here?
Yeah, they have a better shot to me, according to Intel now, than maybe if you asked me a month and a half ago. Georgia's always been in this. Obviously, they have the brother connection. Jared Wilson played at Georgia, started last year for 1 year, goes and gets drafted into the NFL. So obviously, Georgia's been in this recruitment from day one. Like you said, Ohio State kind of set the pace, back in the spring and getting him in Columbus and made a very big impact there. He moved from offensive line to defensive line. Larry Johnson made a big impression there. But coming down to the final days, it looks like an SEC battle between Georgia and South Carolina. Obviously, Shane Beamer would love to get him in Columbia. Right now, we're hearing a little bit more about maybe Georgia and their chances late in this race from Trey Scott and his D-line development, how comfortable he is in Athens being around his brother and his family over the last 3 or 4 years there at Georgia. So Georgia has a real shot to land another big one here, but I'm not sleeping on South Carolina in this race either.
All right, let's talk about tight end Kaden Prothrow, the 5-star tight end out of the state of Georgia. Did Texas do enough on that final official visit to make this one interesting, or is this all dog?
Yeah, Texas never hurts itself on visits. I promise you that, whether it be guys like Vodney Cleveland getting in Lamborghinis and taking photo shoots or showing the 40 acres of Austin, Texas, and just what they can do, not only on the field, but off the field. Texas is a huge brand and tough to deal with if you're a team in recruiting right now. But Georgia, obviously, their trump card here is Kaden Prothrow is an in-state kid. He's been to Georgia 10 plus times. Texas got in this later than most other schools on his list, but they've done enough to get into at least his top three. Right now, it's Georgia, Florida, and Texas in that top three. But I think the top one right now is the University of Georgia. Again, goes back to his familiarity with Athens, been there a lot. Obviously, Todd Hartley, that relationship, that tight end production, how they're used in the offense at that position. And he knows a lot of players on that team. There's a lot of commits in this class. So I think all those things combined put Georgia in a good spot for a July announcement for Kaden Prothrow.
All right. Now we got to wrap this up with a little Tyler Atkinson conversation. Kind of, piggybacks off of what we were just talking about with Prothrow. He took that final official visit to Texas. He trains out in Texas. Is this shaping up to be maybe a Justice Terry type recruitment, or do you like where the dogs sit right now?
Well, if it's Justice Terry, like, the Georgia fans want to turn off the tube right now and quit watching this show, because they have a very bad memory of what happened with Justice Terry, who was an obviously pivotal recruit in that class last year that they lost to Texas on the day that he announced his decision. Look, again, you can't rule out Texas for anyone. If they get them on campus, they're in play, and they are in play for Tyler Atkinson. I think Tyler's one that will draw this out a little bit longer in the summer than a lot of these guys we're talking about, in this show. I see him being a lot like, unless something changes, a lot like KJ Bolden was, when he made his decision that early August, that first or second week, right before the senior season starts at Grayson High School. That's what I'm getting from that camp about decision timeline. And between now and then, I'm being told a lot of discussions will be had from whether it be about NIL, final questions about defensive fit, scheme, where can he play, and does the branding come into it? The acting up is his brand. He's an Adidas guy. Obviously, these schools on his radar are Nike schools. What does that mean for him and his branding? But I don't think Georgia has hurt itself at all over the last month. They had a great official visit. I was told they couldn't even put into words how Georgia made them feel when they were in Athens, Georgia, that 48 hours earlier this month. So, look, Texas is in this, Oregon, Clemson. You can't rule out Ohio State. I think there's still a decision to be made, but we've seen Georgia as the team to beat and the team setting the pace in this race from the beginning. And I've heard nothing to take me away from that. Now, is the decision final? No, each school will have one or two, maybe even three more chances to make an impression through Zoom, over the phone, FaceTime, however it may be. But we like where Georgia's been and where they are for Tyler Atkinson.
All right, Georgia fans, exciting times. The dogs are on a run, and there's a lot going on here on the On3 Recruit channel. So hit subscribe, because that way you get those notifications when we go live for these commitments. I don't want you to miss any of them. Hit subscribe for me, please.